How are we doing, Kansas Jayhawks fans? This is your host, Nick Rondeau, bringing at you with some Jayhawks Daily content. And first off, I just want to say if you appreciate Kansas Jayhawks content and you like breaking it down from this fan's perspective, please subscribe to the channel. Very much appreciate it. We post this stuff for you. And I also want to, say I hope everyone's having a great Wednesday because it's a victory Wednesday after Kansas holds off Colorado 75-69. We moved to 14-5. We continue to chug on. We get that very much needed road win. We get that conference record just a little bit better for us, 4-2, a little bit of wiggle room now because we've got some hard games up ahead. So we're going to talk about the game. We'll talk about the hard games up ahead. We'll talk about how this team's doing all today. So thank you guys for sticking around, and let's get into it. So, yes, Kansas holds off Colorado. And this Colorado team, it wasn't a tale of two halves. There's no easy way to describe it. All I wish I can say is I really wish they played a zone the entire game. That would have been amazing because the first 5-6 minutes, this team looked spectacular. And this game, I think we could all agree, it was a very interesting start and a very interesting game to say, throughout the entire thing. There was almost no timeouts for the first 8 or 9 minutes. There was no foul calls. There was no out of bounds. There was nothing, no whistles. We weren't getting anything. And so you saw after just, 7, 8 straight minutes of basketball, Bryson Tiller was gassed. I mean, Flory Bedunga gassed. These guys were, trying so hard and, putting in so much effort that it looked like we were kicking their butt in the beginning. We were going to keep on going. Everything, was going our way for a good portion, and it was awesome to watch. And then they just got tired, and we just let Colorado right back in because the zone we were dominating. We were Trey White was maneuvering his way right through the zone, finding the open pass. We had so many little underneath bounce passes to a wide open Bryson Tiller who missed, I feel like, a dozen under the rim. But I think it wasn't completely his fault. And also he didn't miss a dozen, but he just didn't go up strong enough. And Fraschilla said it as well in the cast. It's just it was a great start, and then it was wait. They've been playing basketball for so long. This is pickup right now. Well, let's take a stop. Let's get a foul, something like that. And that's when, even Jacques Vaughn, he had to call a timeout when we were, I think, winning after the first timeout. It was 17-12 or 17-13, something like that. It was a close game, and we were ahead. And he's like, no, we just need to call a timeout. You got to get the players out. You got to sub them out. There was no stoppage. And then from there, the game was just our game to lose, essentially. It was, we'll have a 4, 5, 6 point lead the entire game, and can Kansas hold on to it? And, I think the largest it got to was, maybe 8 or 9 at a point, but, it was never climbing above that. And it was each player putting in their shift, I would say, every 5 minutes. Someone really tried to take over the game. But first I kind of want to talk about Darryn Peterson, because we have to. He's the heart and soul of this team when it comes to national championship contending. He is so incredible to watch. And Darryn Peterson had another injury scare. And this one wasn't, cramping it. Even, they were saying, he's looking good. He had, a couple of floaters that were short, and, he's getting his own rebound and putting it right back in. The bounce was there. The energy was there. He played 32 minutes. But he did turn his ankle, and it was odd, right when he turns his ankle on a bad, fall in the second half, he's smiling. And I think he's just how do I have this injury luck? I think it's also just, kind of psyching yourself out, oh, this isn't so bad. But he had to sit out for a couple more minutes. And after that, he was not the same player. He was clearly just trying to help out the team in any way, kind of be a decoy for some ways. But he was not even, when they're playing the foul game at the end, he wasn't going to receive the ball as one of our better foul shooters. So, it was an interesting development, I would say, to say the least. But no cramping issues. It seemed like no dehydration, no hamstrings. But he did have an ankle turn that definitely deterred him from scoring a couple more points out there. But he's one of 3 Big 12 players to score 15 points in their first 10 games. incredibly impressive. He continues to put on a scoring show, a clinic, some would say. He was 3 for 5 from three. Could have been more from that. They got him on a couple of calls, on a couple of illegal screens I didn't think were illegal screens, but, we got a couple of calls as well, so can't be too mad. But Darryn Peterson, he's okay. As of right now, no bad news coming. Maybe a little twisted ankle. We've got a little bit of time till our next game at K-State, so we'll see how it goes. But we got to speak in the ups and downs. Like I'm saying, it was like every individual had their moments. And, you got to speak to one of the biggest moments, which is at the end of the game when the last 5 minutes, Melvin Council Jr., roof. How can you not just bark for that man? That guy is an absolute dog. They were even barking in, Boulder, Colorado after his stretch. He scored 6 straight points for us with 4 minutes to go when it was a 1-point game. When they pulled it to their closest, 1-point game, he just pulled it away. He absolutely pulled it away, including, an amazing transition bucket, a finish, where then he lands out of bounds. They're going to pass the ball in, and maybe, some people could say that his foot was still out of bounds when he just reached that hand back around, gets the steal, goes up for another quick 2 to make that 1-point lead a 5-point lead. And Colorado was unhappy. Some would say understandably, but Melvin just goes all heart, balls to the wall, does exactly what he needs to do to help his team when we are desperate. Darren's hurting. Trey's doing everything on the glass to try to help us out. Flory's, getting swallowed up by these huge players. Melvin Council, the dog, comes to town and helps us out. Just Melvin Council, 7 of 13, 2 for 4 from 3. He had 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 turnovers, which a couple of the turnovers I would say were unlucky, but 2 steals and 18 points, our leading scorer, Melvin Council. We moved to 6-2 when Melvin Council scores 15 points or more. So it just shows, you got to get Melvin in the game. This team plays better when Melvin is aggressive, for sure. And he definitely showed up at just when we needed it in the clutch. And it was like handing the baton off each time. In the beginning of the game, Trey White was looking good. He was 2 for 4 from 3-point. He was 3 for 6 from the field and 17 points because he was 9 for 10 from the free throw line. Just doing everything he can to help out this team because he had 15 rebounds. 15, including 2 offensive. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. And at the beginning, he was knocking down the threes. He was giving us that lead. It was just, everyone doing their part, handing the baton off. Bedunga had one of the best hustle plays of the night. Everyone's got to remember that one. About, I think it was 12 minutes to go or so. Kind of a loose ball. They're fighting for it. Flory had it first. Then it kind of knocks away. Ball's on the ground. Who goes down? Flory Bedunga goes down to the ground. Gets that ball up. Transition. And then who gets the and one? Flory Bedunga earns it. Gets an and one. Has a huge swing that could have been 2 points for Colorado. Ends up being 3 points for KU. Unbelievable hustle plays for him. Another 4-block night for Flory Bedunga. Double-digit points with 11 and 9 rebounds. Doing everything he can. We saw another great statistic. He's the only player in Division I basketball this year averaging over 14 points, averaging over 8.5 rebounds and 2.5 blocks. So he's doing everything he can day in and day out to be the best and most unique player for this Kansas Jayhawks team. And we appreciate every day that he hopped in the portal and then said, a day or two later, that's a good number. I don't think Bruce Pearl's going to be right for me. I'm coming back. And we've needed him because, the ups and the downs of Flory have been there. They've been real. But now he's playing some great conference ball. He's doing everything he can to, will this team. He's, you can just chalk it down on the stat sheet before. He's getting 3 to 4 blocks. I don't know how he averages less. Clearly it just means because he's got a game with 1 or 2. But every single time, 3 to 4 blocks. 3 to 4 blocks. It's just hands down. He is a game changer. He had one where, maybe some could say it was a goaltending. Maybe non-Kansas fans would. I wouldn't say it was a clean block. But he changes the game because he protects the rim so well. He deters everyone's shots. He pushes people away from the basket. Like I don't. He had one beautiful one at the end where honestly I'll give credit. Like give credit to freshman Isaiah Johnson. He started out hot. He played hard, and I kind of said he was like that J.R. Smith coming off the bench. No, they're starting him now. Now he's deserved his spot to be a starter. That's what they're doing. But he still played the most minutes. So beforehand. So it's still going on. But yes, 36 minutes from him. And he started out hot, did not end hot. Only 2 of 7 from 3-point for him. But he had one play where he sees Bedunga and doing exactly what you're taught. Smaller guy, bigger guy, go right into his body and try to force him away. And he kind of sneaks by Bedunga, and he thinks he's got the layup, and the next thing you know, that big left hand's coming in to swat that right back and hit him on the back. And I just says, thank you, I'll take that, and we'll get a transition bucket. I mean, Bedunga is doing so much work to help this team win, night in and night out. So, I don't think Bedunga gets nearly enough credit as he should. People say, "Oh, he hasn't developed his offensive game enough." He's just such a consistent threat. Like, yes, we may be looking for lobs too much for him, but that then pulls 2 defenders and a help defender from the weak side. Like, it then turns into the facilitator's job to find the right pass. We don't always have to throw it up and then it gets swatted back because we saw that a few times and we've been seeing that more often. It's the facilitator's job. Find the corner pass if that's better. Make it a bounce pass, and Flory can, plant his feet. Or just hit the floater yourself, or pull it back out. You don't always have to run that play. So, you just got to appreciate what he's doing, because he's busting his butt, and he's looking great in that Kansas uniform. He was 4 or 5. Again, I'd like to see those, a little bit of uptick in shots, but the way everyone else was playing, it was just a team effort. It was a team effort kind of day. We got 5 minutes of Jaden Dawson, including one great offensive rebound. You got to give credit where credit's due. It was a great offensive rebound, kind of lands to him, gives us an extra possession. Jamar McDowell had a huge 3, but bench points were few and far between. Only 8 of them. Jamarco, as we call it, Elmarco and Jamari McDowell getting in their minutes. Elmarco definitely, playing his best, but the depth still is not there, The depth still is not there, but when you got 4 in double figures and you out-rebound the team by that wide of a margin, things kind of go your way. 45-33, just everyone grabbing boards. Trey White, 15 rebounds, unbelievable. Bryson Tiller, 5, Bryson Tiller, I haven't mentioned him much. He kind of had an odd, it was a touch-and-go game for him. He looks like he's going to take the next step. His shot is just so pure. He really can set it up. He's looking aggressive at the beginning, but then he just goes up very soft and gets blocked and doesn't get his foul calls because he's too young, and he's not even great from the free throw line. Not that he really, he was 1 for 2, so he didn't have a great looks, but he hasn't quite found his niche. But when everyone was kind of already gone down a transition bucket. Bryson Tiller has a huge block in the second half for us, gets us jazzed up. He has his moments. He definitely has his moments, but he's just not quite the X factor we thought he was going to be. I'm sure, he'll continue to, grow and find his place and definitely be an excellent basketball player. But, I think we're really Darryn Peterson back in the lineup being that star player that we need. Melvin Council being aggressive, Flory Bedunga being that dominant center, and Trey White is really, more of that X factor, that guy who can knock down a couple of threes, get big offensive rebounds, maybe a couple of decent defensive plays. Like, just the thing that Trey White I love is his pump fakes. He's you can tell he is a journeyman. He is a tenured player who just knows how to play basketball. I'm going to get you up, because I've knocked down a couple of threes. I'm going to get you up off your feet. I'm going to dribble in a couple steps because I just blew by that defender. And then I've got you right where I want you. Pump fake this way, go left. Pump fake, go right. He's doing it all right, getting people up and then getting the foul calls. It's just things to slow down the game, get a couple extra minutes because he's a guy who plays pretty much most on our team. 36 minutes from him, He does everything that, we kind of need from him. And you got to appreciate because he could have picked anywhere, and he picked to come back to KU and really help this team push for a championship. And he was probably one of the only people that people really knew, I would say, coming in as a transfer. Maybe a fewer people heard of Melvin. The Bonnies were pretty good. They had a good run last year. And then Jaden Dawson, people know Loyola Chicago, but they definitely didn't know him. They definitely don't know him now because no performances have really shown up for him. But Trey White, people knew all the big programs, and he's looking pretty good. So we'll see how we continue on. But, after that road win, what's everyone's confidence level? Scale 1 to 10 on this team. How are we feeling? Because the schedule does not get any easier. That was probably one of our easiest games left because we've got K-State this weekend on Saturday at K-State, which is always a tough game. I mean, playing in Manhattan, not easy. Then we host BYU, who's a top 15 team. They're ranked 13, I think, right now. I'm not positive. And then we go to Lubbock. And then we get a little bit of a game, against, home against Utah. We get to recapture it. And then it's Arizona, Iowa, and then at Iowa State. I mean, just a gauntlet of next 6 games, an absolute gauntlet. And of those 6 games, what's everyone's record, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the rest of this week. What's the record? I don't know. But what's my confidence level on this team going forward? Well, if Darryn Peterson's injury is not too bad, which I don't think it is. Looked like just a little bit of an ankle turn. My confidence level, I'm going to go with an 8.5. I'm going to go with an 8.5. I think this team playing well, but this is the real test. These games, there's so much tough competition in this conference. We finally got that road win, but it was convincing, but not incredibly convincing. But we didn't have Bill Self, but they're playing for Bill Self. So it's just so many things are going for us and against us. 8.5. And that can go up, and it can definitely go down because we've got these tough games. K-State could shoot us right down. I don't think K-State's really going to bump me up too much, but what I will say, I'm liking how this team's playing basketball. They're playing hard. They're rebounding. They're close. They're friends. Darryn Peterson, when he's injured, he's got his arm completely around Jaden Dawson. They're close. And Jaden Dawson has probably got to be disappointed. I came to this program with high hopes after playing, a great career that I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be a top player for KU. And he's playing his role well. He's mentoring Cole Rosario. He's, being friendly with everyone. He's not begging for extra minutes. He's earning those minutes. You got to appreciate what this team's doing. Paul Mbia, maybe he'll get a couple of minutes soon. Samis, I think he knew it was going to be tough for him to find some minutes, knowing, how Bill kind of uses rotations. But, he'll find a way. And Cole Rosario, just learning right now. Like, I should have been in my senior year, and then I was a starter, and then now I'm not a starter, and now I don't have any minutes. How am I going to earn those minutes? Because I'm going to keep working hard. I'm still going to be the first one in, last one out for shooting. So, I think this team's going to go well. I'm hoping Bill Self, obviously, looks like he is, but going to be coaching this Saturday, and it looks like, he's going to be back to full health. Jock Vaughn did an excellent job. Great win in your, Kansas coaching debut, we'll call it. All the assistants did a great job. Definitely. The crowd in Boulder did a great job. People were calling it Kansas West. Such a fantastic job. But this team, they're looking good. I'm hopeful. And we'll keep pushing content out this week about how this team's going to be doing this weekend, how we're going to be doing for the future. And if you like it, if you appreciate Kansas Jayhawks basketball, you like my breakdowns, please subscribe to the Jayhawks Daily. I would very much appreciate it. Comment down below what you guys thought of the game, how you guys are feeling about this team, the road ahead. Maybe about how I'm breaking down the game, or maybe just some other things you guys might want me to talk about. I definitely want to answer some of your questions. Ask me some questions about this team, how I feel about, or just honest about anything. I'm definitely this content's here for you guys. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's continue to push on, Kansas Jayhawk Nation, and rock chalk. Let's go Jayhawks.